Hey, before we get into this video, please note that we'll spoil the entire main story of Xenoblade 3. If you don't want to get spoiled, please consider throwing this into your watch later folder so you can come back when you're ready. Alright, let's get into the video. We all remember the big cutscenes in Xenoblade 3, like the reveal of Mio's Bane Switch and so many more that I don't have time to mention. However, these cutscenes are held up by a ton of smaller cutscenes that you probably forgot about, but if they weren't there, the game would fall apart. Let me tell you why. Before we can get into why the small cutscenes matter, let's first analyze the cutscene I just mentioned and figure out why it was so memorable. With the Mio Bane Switch leading up to the cutscene, you have watched nearly a feature-length film full of cutscenes, and you also saw one of the meanest things Monolith Soft devs have done, but let's stay on topic. The cutscene comes off Noah confirming to the shadowy figure that he will try to take down Mobius and make a better world for everyone, even after he saw a few painful ends to N's previous attempts at doing the same thing. The player initially is confused, as Noah sees what appears to be Mio after he says this, and the cutscene then cuts back to reality as M saves Noah from N. M picks up both Noah and Mio's old flute, and then hands Noah Mio's flute. At the exact same time, both the player and Noah realize that the only people who would know that Noah uses Mio's flute would be the people in Noah's group, meaning Mio is somehow in M's body and is still alive. We know what happens afterwards, and gets absolutely curb-stomped after winning pretty handedly the last two times, which feels vindicating. Mobius get outsmarted by the city, and you are riding the highest high while also recovering from what was one of the saddest sequences in Xenoblade's history so far. But what makes those cutscenes so great? Well, let's look at why you feel emotional. Everyone has gone into despair, as they are likely to die because they got captured by Mobius after sacrificing themselves to save Gondor and the key to the Cloud Keep. But that alone won't make you feel bad for heroes. What it comes down to is that you care for their success. One thing that a lot of shows and video games get wrong when they write their stories is character development. Yes, the main hero may do all kinds of cool things and save people, but they lack character development. Is there any stakes when they get into a fight with someone that looks like they can't beat? Does the audience care if the hero fails or dies? It doesn't matter how many kids you save from burning buildings if we don't care about the hero behind the mask. Imagine the same cutscene I described, but you had seen none of the game before it. Obviously, you can tell it is an emotional cutscene, but you don't care about any of the characters involved. Yes, it's sad that Mio dies, but if you hadn't seen anything beforehand, you don't really care. Noah's distraught about Mio dying, but why do I care that Noah's distraught about Mio? You could arguably say the same thing about any superhero love interest that somehow inevitably ends up in the hero having to choose between their love or saving the entire city or something. The superhero should always save the entire city, so there is no tension when the supervillain pulls out the oldest trick in the book. What makes it tense is that we care about the superhero's happiness underneath the mask. That's why character development is so important, and why Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is so great. It does a great job at developing the characters and makes you care about whether they succeed or not. But the greatest part is that it feels so natural. In fact, you may even forget about the cutscenes that make this game so great. One interaction you may forget about is in one of the cutscenes that many describe when they talk about the game. It's this one, where Noah and Mio exchange flutes. And while yes, this is amazing and indicates the trust they have for one another and how fast of friends they have become, there's another interaction that goes forgotten. It's this small interaction between Lance and Tyon where they're talking about how they will not get themselves involved after Mio runs off and Senna basically calls Noah dumb. It's a small 1-minute intermission between the more major parts of the cutscene, but it shows the character development. Lance and Tyon are sitting and talking to each other, something that would have been unimaginable at the start of the game. Lance thought Tyon was too stuck up, and Tyon thought Lance was too stupid for him. But now we have Tyon rejecting Lance's high five, which he never does accept at any point in the game, unfortunately. Remember it now? And there's a ton of other cutscenes just like this scattered throughout the game, like Uni and Tyon talking about how Mio must feel about death, Noah talking with Tyon about how memories are supposed to be passed on, and Mio and Uni talking about Miyabi. But these are just cutscenes. We also have something incredibly important they added to this game too: campfire conversations. In past Xenoblade games, there were these things called heart-to-heart conversations. You could trigger them by having two characters have a relationship level high enough, and you could get a scene that would have those two characters interact. However, these got replaced by campfire conversations in Xenoblade 3, when instead of making character chemistry go up, you just have to get the conversation from the thought bubbles like many other side quests. These are often overlooked within the game, as the only real benefit you get from these gameplay-wise is 100 extra XP, which becomes near useless the further you level up. However, these provide something that the other Xenoblade games at times lacked: character interaction between all of the characters. Understandably, you may not be able to have one-on-one interactions between all of the characters in cutscene form, due to having to move forward the story, and for Xenoblade 3 that would be 30 extra cutscenes, which isn't realistic when the story is already pretty jam-packed as it is. Campfire conversations are able to substitute some of those interactions. They aren't necessarily the same, but it provides those character interactions we wouldn't have seen otherwise. This makes the group feel much more united and realistic, rather than the problem that Octopath Traveler 1 has where it feels like they're just more random characters together, and they interact with each other once per chapter. Of course, this isn't a perfect solution, cutscenes will always be better, but it is a good substitute. Also, they have these really cute, exclusive animations at the campsites too, so maybe next time you stop by one, get rid of the backlog of non-side quest campfire conversations. In conclusion, these cutscenes and campfire conversations are integral to the game. If they were taken away, the game would feel so much more lifeless, and we would have way less Xenoblade 3 meme images because a lot of those come from campfire conversations. Obviously, on Monolith Soft's fourth go-around with the Xenoblade series, they are getting better at making the main cast feel much more united. A common complaint with Xenoblade 2 was that the main cast didn't necessarily have a lot of interaction with other members. Now, it is harder when you are trying to write with 11 main characters rather than 8, but the change to campfire conversations made it much easier for those characters that may have not interacted a lot to feel more like friends than they would have in the heart-to-heart system. So next time you get annoyed at a cutscene that doesn't move the story forward but has characters interacting with one another as friends, just remember that these are what make the game so enjoyable, even if you forget about them. Hey, thank you so much for watching the entire video, I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. Less than 5% of my viewers are subscribed, and subscribing is free and helps the channel a lot. Also, consider leaving a comment. I read every comment, even the 2,000-word essay ones. But with that, I hope you will have a wonderful day, evening, night, wherever you are, and this is Crystalized, signing out.